Welcome to Entre Moms, the bilingual podcast where single moms come together to find support y su propia luz en este viaje de ser madres. Mi nombre es Paula Costa, your host, and just like you, sé lo poderoso que es sentirnos comprendidas y apoyadas en esta travesía tan particular. Each week, I'll bring you conversations with experts who share valuable advice, además de historias inspiradoras de padres y madres solteros como nosotras. Please remember, while I aim to bring you diverse perspectives, the opinions of my guests do not necessarily reflect my own. So take a deep breath, ponte cómoda y conectemos de corazón a corazón as we navigate this path together. Bienvenida a Entre Moms, tu espacio para conectar, inspirarte y sentirte acompañada. Hola, buenas tardes. Rebecca is so powerful, and I'm sure her message is gonna touch you as it touched my heart. It's so nice to see you.
You too. Let me move back a little. There we go. So not so close. Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Nice. I'm doing great too. I'm so excited to have you here. It's really an honor and a pleasure of mine to speak with you. And not only that, but having the chance to also spread your message and this experience with anybody in social media, because this is really important and it's not as talked about, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm so excited.
I am too. It's so great to see you. I'm so honored. Thank you for asking me to be on.
I got questions when I did the post that I was going to be with you, saying, what's a doula? Like, who needs a doula? So I would like you, who are the one and only and the best, to explain to us what does a doula do?
So a doula is a Greek word, and it means service. It means servant, right? So it's what we do is informational, educational, and physical support around childbirth. So we do preparation during pregnancy, educational resources. And then we do full labor support. Doulas also, there's full spectrum doulas. We work some with abortion, there are death doulas. So it's working to support transitions into and out of this plane of existence, which sounds really simple. And we used to live in communities where we were surrounded, by generations and generations. So everyone was a doula, grandmothers and sisters and mothers and cousins, and it was a community effort. And now that we're, living in isolation, and especially in this age of COVID where we're super isolated, but just in general as a society and a culture, we don't have that support around us, and we don't have a ton of information around what childbirth entails. Our sort of ideas around birth are based on media consumption, right? And in the media, it's very fast and it's very dramatic, and that's because the show is a half an hour long and they need to keep us interested and on the edge of our seats, and that's not really what birth is at all. Labor is actually quite quiet. It's very quiet for a very long time until it gets big, and then it's very loud. And so we just don't know what birth looks like, as a culture anymore. And we're very disconnected from it. And I think a lot of families go in thinking, oh, I'm just going to go in and have my baby today, right? Without actually understanding the physiologic process, what it entails, and ways to support it. We see it in medical model birth all the time in the hospital. I'll be in the hallway and a dad will come running out to the nurse's station. He'll say, please, somebody help us. And everybody's panicking, without really understanding that it's all part of the process. So having someone who can sort of guide you through and help you navigate not only what's happening in your body, but also what's happening around you. so that you can have an experience that you're participating in, which is empowerment, you know, as opposed to an experience of something that's happening to you, which is trauma, right?
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. And I remember from my experience that I know for some reason that I wanted to have like a kind of a different birth
Yeah.
from the hospital like model, but I didn't know how or who could help me. And then I found you. And you, I mean, I see the role of a doula in a mom's life or in a pregnant woman's life as a ton of resources, and not only information but also that empowerment, because with you, working with you, I felt that I was able, and I feel like I recovered a lot of the power I have lost in my entire life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I just brought it back, and I just knew I could do that. I could give birth, and that my body was made for it. And that was before, but then during the labor, just having you by my side, telling me how to like remember to breathe and giving me support, your hands, just seeing you there made me stronger. And just it goes back to what you were saying, that support. And I feel that it's underrated, that support, because we're going through a lot when we're giving birth, and we just sometimes need someone who's standing there and saying, I'm here for you. You can do it.
Yeah, and also you're okay, right? That's
Yeah,
the biggest
yeah.
thing. You're okay. This is you were made for this. You're okay. It's hard, but you're okay. And
Exactly.
that's not what happens. You know, in the medical model, when someone's panicking, everyone comes in and they say, "Oh, we're going to give you all these things. We have all these things." And really, you know, so that dad who's running out to the nurse's station saying, "Someone please help us." All he has to do is put his hands on her shoulders and say, "You're okay. We're okay. I'm here with you. You're okay. I've got you. I want you to focus on your breath, bring yourself back inside, right? Center yourself. You're okay, right? We just don't know that we're okay. And when it comes to childbirth, it's we're genetically coded to do this. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
Right? It's in our DNA. And we, again, as a culture, we're so disembodied, right? We don't live in our bodies. We don't know what's happening in our bodies. It's shocking how many women don't even know when they're ovulating, right? We don't know what our cycles are. We're disconnected from our cycles. We're on birth control, which further it doesn't even give us a cycle half the time, right? And we live in these cities where there's noise pollution and light pollution, and we're just not, we do this all in harmony and rhythm with nature and with one another. And we're so separated from it, right? So the real work is in understanding that you're innately genetically programmed to do this. You already have everything that you need to do this. But we grow up with such messaging around how incapable we are, you know, how shameful as women particularly, how shameful our bodies are, right? We don't talk about any of these things, you know, like getting your menstruation and, you know, getting a bra for the first time, and everyone's like, we don't want to talk about that, right? Nobody wants to talk about it, which is mind-blowing, because it's literally the reason we exist as a species, you know, like, and we don't support it. And we have social structures in place, and we have the medical industrial complex in place that all undermine our capabilities, our innate capabilities. And so, yes, while a big part of what a doula does is hold your hand and make sure that you're hydrating and that you're getting little bites of food so you have energy, and helping you understand what's happening in your body and change positions to work with your baby to help your baby come through. It's really more about just like holding this space around you so that you can discover your own power. Like, we all have to discover our own power. We all have to come through that, you know, and it's really profound and it's really powerful. And we don't, unfortunately, have a lot of space in our culture for the power and the magic of birth. You know, there's a lot of fear around it. It's steeped in fear, and it should be steeped in power, you know?
I know. And
Yeah.
where do you think that fear is coming from? As you say, it's from the media. As you like, why are we so scared of giving birth?
Well, the messaging, right? I mean, I'm dating myself a bit when I talk about like when I was in eighth grade health class, right? They like wheel in a TV and they show you this video, The Miracle of Life, and then they leave and nobody talks about it. And everybody just goes, "Ew, I'll never do, I'll never have a baby." Right? And that's the end of it. That's it. And then you go to your OB's office, right? You go to this doctor who specializes in pathologies around pregnancy and delivery, and you go to this OB's office, and there are no informational pamphlets whatsoever around what labor looks like, around what's happening in your body during pregnancy, what an induction
Mhm.
looks like and entails, what a C-section
Yeah.
looks like. There's only like birth control pamphlets, right? It's only all these things about how to like not get pregnant. And so we have no like cultural dialogue around birth, and that sparks fear. You know, the fear of the sensations of birth, right? Everyone thinks like, oh my God, it's going to hurt so much. And I'm terrified of it. I can't, if I had $1 for every woman who came up to me and said, I'm so afraid of this, you know,
Mhm.
and that's cultural. It's 1,000% cultural. You know, we've also created an entire industry around keeping people afraid. I mean, most of our industries are created around keeping people afraid, right? But especially if we keep women afraid and unaware of or unable to access this innate knowledge and power, what does that do culturally? You know what I mean? Like if every woman in the world knew how powerful she was and went into this with such confidence, we would be in a our culture would look very different. The whole world would change. The whole world would change if women understood how powerful they are, you know,
I agree.
but women who do understand how powerful they are, you know, historically have been dismissed as witches and sorceresses and, you know, like all of this sort of like conjuring context around, you know, oh, the connection that we have to nature. We're so connected to nature and the moon and the tides and all of these natural processes. And as women, even when we're so powerful, when we gather in a room for any amount of time, our cycles align.
Yeah.
What? Like,
Yeah.
the power of our bodies is unbelievable, but we live in fear and shame of them. And so this feeds a model of care that is based upon you need us to do this, right? You need us to do this. And the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is we don't, right? Obstetrics grew out of pathologies in pregnancy, right? High risk pathologies that needed to be addressed. And for certain, you know, these tools that we have and this technology that we have and the C-section saves lives, absolutely 1,000%. However, we have applied it, we've sort of commandeered it for all birth, right? We haven't, it should really only be there for this 1% of women who need it, because birth is a continuum, right? It's not a this or that. We've also completely polarized it, right? You either, you know, everyone thinks like you're in the hospital with all the bells and whistles, or you have a home birth and we're like throwing granola at you and sprinkling glitter all around you and, you know, like, lighting fires around you. And it's not the case. Birth is a continuum, just like life is a continuum, right? Every low risk, healthy woman should be starting out of a hospital. And as her labor unfolds, if we see signs and symptoms of this veering towards needing support and technology, we have a place we can go for that support and technology. But we don't usually need it. You know, 99% of women would give birth just fine on their bathroom floor all alone, right? We just don't
Yeah.
know that, you know? And the other part of the fear is partners. You know, I can't tell you how many women come in and say, I really want to do a home birth, but like my husband does not feel good about it. My partner is not on board. Like he thinks it's really dangerous, right? And
Mhm.
why do we think it's dangerous? Statistically, you know, medical birth is more dangerous statistically. You know, we have the highest rates of infant and maternal mortality of any industrialized nation in the world, in America, in the United States. And it's because childbirth has become managed care rather than a supported physiologic process. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I know it's, and there's so much to unfold here that it's crazy.
There's
It's
so
so
much to unpack. There's so much to unpack, you know.
it is. But when you were talking about like every woman could start their birth all along without the medical support, and as it unfolds, you can get it. It makes me think about some women that I have talked about my birth, and then there is this sensation that maybe I'm a better mom because I did this. And I just want to reassure here that
Right.
no matter how you give birth,
No.
we're all great moms.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't matter. And I'm just doing this, and I just wanted you to be here and give us this information so more women get empowered by you, and more pregnant women also get information, and there are other options, because I feel that, as you said, our fear comes from the media and the messages, and it's only going one way. Like when you go to a pregnant woman, and the question is like, when are you going to have your baby? And they have a set date. It's like, that's how it is, and there's no question about it. And my invitation here is just like, it's not only one way, there are many ways that you can pick from. And the more you feel aligned with your choice, the better it will be for you and your baby, whatever you choose. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, 1,000%. And that's where, you know, this polarization comes in of like, oh, it's this way or it's this way. And there's no one way, because there's no one way to do anything. Again, the hierarchy around birth and everything is a social construct. It doesn't exist, right? Any human who grows another human and then gets them from the inside of their body to the outside of their body is a superstar, right? There's no regardless of the port of entry, right? It doesn't matter which entry our baby chooses, whether it's vaginal or they need to be airlifted. Some babies need to be airlifted. And thank goodness we have that procedure. You know, what happens is many people have a traumatic experience around birth because they don't know what's happening. There's no information, right? So when labor begins and you call, like there's this and understanding how to navigate the medical model is everything. You know, so many people, you can have a traumatic home birth and you can have a beautiful hospital birth. It doesn't matter. What matters is the narrative, right? So the narrative around birth in our culture, and the narrative is that it hurts. It hurts and it's hard and you can't do it without an epidural, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you one thing, nobody gets an epidural because they cannot handle the sensations of labor. People get an epidural because they are exhausted, right? They're exhausted. They're 3 days into labor and they can't relax into the contractions anymore. And now they need some help with that. And at that point, the epidural, it's a tool on a shelf. It's a fantastic tool. We just had that. We just had a 3-day labor that she just could not relax. We transferred to the hospital, got the epidural. Within 40 minutes, she had a baby in her arms. It's an amazing tool when we use it appropriately, right? When it doesn't work is when you go in and you're not even truly in active labor and you get it way too early. Because what the epidural does is it cuts off this messaging, right, between the body and the mind. And so you're not getting these chemical releases. And now we have to augment labor with Pitocin, which is, you know, a man-made synthetic oxytocin, which is what our brain makes, right? So there's no one way to do anything. And it's, you know, it carries into our parenting, right? So what matters in the birth experience is that we come to it with a level of acceptance that it's going to be challenging, right? And an understanding of why it's challenging, because it is only through challenge that we grow. It is only through challenge. When we are comfortable and just kind of cruising through, there's no growth experience happening. Right? It's supposed to be hard. Nature is a genius. She's like, I'm going to give you this really intense crash course in having to like meet yourself in all of your darkest places, find your way through these big emotions and sensations, come back to center, work with your partner, right? Partners also are so alienated by labor. Like there's a place for partners in this, you know? And that's another thing a doula does, is work to engage the partner. It's not our, it's your experience. It's not our job. We're not in there squeezing hips and like, you know, we're just there to give guidance. It's partners. It's yours to do together, to talk through and work through and find your way through. Because when you come through that, you look back and you say, we did that, we can do anything. And I'll tell you, birth is the easy part. The hard part is going home and being responsible for a human life for
Oh yeah.
the entire duration of that life, right? So patience and surrender and intuition, cultivating intuition, you know, that's also a really big, beautiful part of laboring and pregnancy, is it's this time to cultivate this intuitive knowledge that we have. You know, during pregnancy, you get these like spidey senses, right? And also like after you have a baby, you're home, you can hear that baby's cry from wherever they are. It'll immediately wake you up out of sleep, right? You hear another baby call, it doesn't even have to be your baby. You start lactating, milk starts shooting out, right? It's amazing. Like we have these powers, that this intuition and this innate knowledge that's cellular. We don't even have to think about it. You know, and so pregnancy and labor are these times to be cultivating. In labor, learning to trust yourself and your body, it's imperative, you know, and when you come through that, the narrative becomes, I did this, no matter how I did it, right? Because there's no such thing as failure in childbirth. And the messaging, right, the language around medical model birth, at least, is all very negative. Failure to progress, a failed induction.
Yes.
It's all failure, 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 and it's all in the mom. And there's no such thing as failure to progress, right? It's not even a thing. 33% of all C-sections are due to failure to progress, which doesn't exist. Everything progresses. It only doesn't have enough time, right? It wasn't given the time needed and the support needed to truly progress. So no matter how you do this, going into this with a level of understanding that it's going to be hard, but it's not harder than you can handle. And it's hard for a reason. You become a mother, you know, there's this really beautiful saying that, what is it? It's like two people are born, right? Two people. The first is, you know, a crying, flailing, brand new person navigating the terrain of this life. And the second is a baby, right?
Yeah.
We're told to be born with our babies.
100%.
It has to be challenging. That's the whole point, because that's where we're learning to be resilient, you know, to set this foundation, to dig deep. It's where the rubber meets the road, is like, how do I get through this? Yes, failure to be patient is exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's not a failure to progress. Like, it doesn't go backwards. That's what people don't understand, right? It's not a failure to progress. It's like, once your labor begins, it only ends in a baby. It doesn't like regress to, you know, a zygote. Like it only comes out, it eventually there's a baby, right? So failure to progress is not a thing. Yet 33% of women are C-section for it. So it's very important to understand that it's a physiologic, natural process that demands time and patience. And I think the best analogy for that is if you think about planting a seed in the earth, right? We plant a seed in the earth. You can't stand over that seed demanding that it grow. It just doesn't work like that, right? In fact, when you're standing over it demanding this growth, like you better be like, I need this sunflower by 8 p.m., right? You're blocking the sunlight, you're blocking the rain, you're blocking the nutrients, you're blocking everything the seed needs to grow. So in the standing over it and demanding that it grows, you're actually thwarting, you know, its innate ability to grow. And that's what happens in the medical model with all of these timelines and all of these demands. Like the stress hormones that come on counter the oxytocin, you know, which is what brings on labor. So, yeah.
Wow, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It makes it like real. And so now that you're talking about we're talking about the options, who needs a doula? Only the people who it's gonna have or wants it's planning a natural birth? Or
No. I mean, there are doulas, even if you have a breech baby, right? And the unfortunate thing, we're in Buffalo, New York, and in some cities they're much more, you know, progressive. But in Buffalo, there are no providers who will do a vaginal breach. It's an automatic C-section, right? So even with that, knowing that you're going in for a C-section, having a doula to help you navigate the OR, like we can always take back this experience, even a surgical birth. And so that is because birth is a sensory experience. And so when we're in the OR, you know, there's this drape from the neck down, and that's sterile field, and that belongs to all the doctors. But you've got this space from the neck up that belongs to you, and you can take back the experience instead of lying on this, you know, table looking up at these like fluorescent lights and this like sterile ceiling and hearing all of these conversations because there are a million people in the OR, and suddenly like your sensory experience becomes one of surgery, right? When your partner, like doulas, can help you navigate the OR. Sometimes we can go into the OR. It depends. There's only one provider here who allows us in the OR. I love being in the OR. I think I mean, the C-section is an amazing surgery, and it does save lives. You know, we just overuse it. But understanding that you can bring in essential oils, you can bring in music, you can put headphones on, you have your partner standing over you with his hands on your shoulders, or her, their hands on your shoulders, and let that be the thing you're seeing. Oh, my person is here, right? As opposed to these bright lights and this sterile field. And so then you have this sensory experience that you've created, so that, like, say you bring in like lemon essential oils, right? So every time you're chopping lemons, you are instantly taken back to like, oh, this is the smell of like when my baby was born, right? You can make a playlist and bring in music. Oh, this is the song when my baby was born. You can keep that experience yours. And so having a doula helps you understand how to do that, how to navigate what's happening. Same with an induction, right? How to navigate not just labor, natural, you know, I mean, it's so important that we understand, you know, you can have this birth plan. You can have your home birth, your pool set up, your candles lit, and your water breaks and there's meconium and we're going to the hospital. And it does this like total 180. But guess what? It's still your experience, right? So understanding that the biggest part of this is letting go of control, which is truly the lesson of this, you know, like really understand. We have no control. We don't know what we don't know what kid we're going to get. You know what I mean? Like we just don't control anything. And we have all of these illusions of control in the world. And so with childbirth, and I think this is another big point of fear, we are so out of control of our bodies because it's this force that moves through us that we truly have to surrender to allow it to work. But anyone can hire a doula, whether you're having an epidural. Having a doula is great because it gives you insight into like, it's not time to get that epidural yet. You know, oh, now you're really good and active. It's a great time to go get that epidural, you know? And also, do you understand what's happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also think a big role for you, it's also to be like the voice of the mother with the doctor or wherever you're having your baby. Because when you are giving birth or in labor, like there's no, you're not mentally there. You're just so within that it's hard to speak up or define what you want or if you want something or not done. And if you have a doula, I think it makes a complete difference because then you can have, as much as you're not in control, you can have your experience still your experience. Absolutely. And the doula can guarantee that.
Well, yes, what we do, so we
kind of
people, there's no guarantees around anything. Yeah. But what we do is we help you participate in the process. And that, again, is the difference between trauma and empowerment, right? Everyone thinks like, oh, doulas they empower people. We don't empower people. You empower yourself, right? We bring you the information that you need so that you can make decisions, educated decisions based on evidence, evidence-based research, right? And shared decision-making with your provider so that you are participating in the process. And that is, when you talk to most people who've had a traumatic experience, it's because they didn't know what was happening, right? They're like, nobody told me what they were doing. And that's where in the hospital, because medical model birth, you know, when you go in and you sign your consent when you're admitted to the hospital, you're consenting to whatever they need to do. So they just do it without talking to you, right? So asking them to verbally consent you, you know, having a birth plan and saying, please verbally tell us what you're going to do, which sounds like a no-brainer, but a lot of times they don't. They put things in your IV. Most people don't even know, like, you don't have to have IV fluids. You can drink water. You know, there's a happy medium. You get that poured in, and then they can access you if they need to, but you can drink water, right? So understanding how to navigate policies that are in place and just kind of, it's a blanket approach, right? But if you ask for things and say, hey, can I just do this instead? Most of the time, there's not even pushback. They're like, oh yeah, totally, you can do that. People just don't know to ask. Like, we don't know what we don't know, right? So
Yeah, exactly. And so what could be those things that somebody like a pregnant woman can ask
uh, can
to
I,
the
yeah, can I eat and drink during labor? It's super important to be able to eat and drink during labor. If you think about how, also positions, can I change positions? I don't really like being on my back. Like, no one ever would voluntarily lay on their back during labor at all.
yeah.
Ever, ever,
Yeah.
ever. It's the least, it's so uncomfortable. Gravity is pulling your baby toward your sacrum. It closes the pelvic outlet. Like, just innately and naturally, birthers want to be standing, they want to be rocking, they want to be on their hands and knees. And so in the medical model, understanding you can do whatever you want because you are a consumer, you are not a sick person, right? So everyone else in the
Oh,
hospital,
that's huge.
yeah, everyone else in there needs help, right? Like, of course they need help. And so it's this very like emergent, you know, care that we get. But pregnant people are the only people in the medical model in hospitals who don't need help. They need support, right? But they don't need anything. They're not sick, right? Like, pregnancy is not a medical condition.
Oh, and that's key. That's key to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going through a process, as you
Yeah.
said, and it's a growing process. We just need that support.
Yeah.
Um, we are talking about the trauma that a mom can have during birth, but also if we think about the baby that is coming to to midlife
Yeah.
after 9 months or whatever time it is that they are in the womb, that to me it's by itself traumatic
Yeah.
because it's a huge change. And to, like in my case, giving birth the way I did was phenomenal, and I'm so thankful for it. And I think it made a change, like not a change, but it impacted Martin in such a great way because we had like the lights were not that bright. We gave him the chance to turn around. Like we made him feel comfortable. And to me, it was also important that we believed in him, that we gave him the time and we just trust him that he could do it,
Yeah.
and we could do it together. So to me, like just knowing about your options and what do you want for yourself also, of course, impacts the new life that's
Absolutely.
coming.
Yeah.
And I would like to know, because you speak so beautifully, how you see that and what's your experience with the children you have, like seeing being born, because I know you also give support. I mean, I've been there also, support after birth. So what's going on with these children?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, a really interesting thing that we're seeing right now, with just in the past year with COVID, is a restlessness in babies. Like, I think because mothers, pregnant people have been living in this state of emergency for a year, all of these stress hormones it's really affecting the babies. We have a lot of babies who are like really I don't know, our chiropractor actually, she adjusts newborns, so she's seeing it a lot. And this it definitely affects, so let me back it up a little bit. So one of the things we see with families who are who have these really empowering and positive birth experiences, as opposed to families who do not. We see at the postpartum immediately. Like the partners open the door and they're wearing the baby and they're like, come on in, like we're doing great. And the moms are like super confident in their breastfeeding, as opposed to partners who weren't engaged during the labor and mothers who weren't engaged during the labor, you know, and they're very tentative. I don't know what to do. You know, dads kind of hold the babies and they go, I don't know what to do. Here, take the baby. I don't know. And moms are like, I don't know what to do either. You know, so
But I think that
see that.
that's the extension of also giving the power to someone else during the
Absolutely.
birth. Like if you give control, then like you don't know how it's to take it back.
Yeah.
But if you take it back before, it's like it stays with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's why it's so important to have a positive birth experience. People are like, why do we care? We care because it's a continuum. Everything's a continuum. Your birth experience, you know, informs your parenting. Your parenting informs how your children, like, you know, work out in the world, how they engage in the world. So all the way through this process, it's global. You know, I mean, we had one generation of babies born in peace to mothers who were not in fear. It would change the world. It's so powerful. And we see it immediately after birth, like babies that, you know, they say these things they do, like there's something that they give for pain. They say, oh, it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier, like the new vein. It does cross the blood-brain barrier. And we see immediately, like those babies come out and they're very floppy and they need a little bit of support and a little bit of time to get that tone back to like, oh, this baby looks good and strong now, right? We see it immediately. We see the effects, you know, and in children who grow, I think the most profound is that it affects their parents and the level of confidence, and it informs the way that we parent. And this is where the power of mothers, it begins at conception. Like it doesn't start when your labor starts. It begins at conception, understanding that you have a person growing in you, and everything you give them, they get, right? So if you're giving them stress hormones and cortisol, which is what's happened over this past year in a pandemic, right? Everyone, like our nervous systems are shot and we're running on adrenaline and cortisol and we're just in survival mode. Everybody's in fight or flight, you know, and we see these babies coming in who are you know, they're showing signs and symptoms of that, you know, but if we can downregulate our nervous systems, give our babies more endorphins and more oxytocin while they're in the womb. And we can absolutely control that because emotions are just chemistry in the bloodstream, right? That's all it is. So when we're starting to feel like super stressed and super anxious, it's literally as simple as just stopping for a moment and thinking of something that gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling. Like it's so simple. The warm fuzzies, when you feel that, like, oh, it changes your nervous system response. And I mean, like, it's as simple as like watching like a puppy video on YouTube. Like the minute you see these like floppy puppies, you're like, oh, puppies. And like your nervous system floods with this, you know, this oxytocin. And then guess what? Your baby gets all this oxytocin and this messaging that like, oh, we're okay. So there was a stressor, but we're okay now because my mom, like we're down regulating and we're okay, as opposed to living in this place up here of stress with all these stress hormones. So as mothers during pregnancy, we have so much power, so much power. We're the most, like, pregnant women are the most powerful creatures on earth, pregnant people, most powerful creatures on the planet. Yet we're treated like, it, you know, oh, can you lift that? Do you need me to call you an ambulance? Like these delicate flowers.
Don't move, don't dance. I remember because I was a Zumba instructor at the moment, and then when I was dancing, people were like I was crazy. Like, what are you doing? And if we just change that, the pregnant people's mind, it will be another universe.
Yeah, it's
completely.
rewriting a narrative. It's rewriting a narrative that is like moving through our whole culture of, oh, when you're pregnant, you're eating for two. Well, that doesn't mean like using your belly as a shelf for your ice cream, right? That means
Yeah.
eating like really nutritious food that is feeding both of you and cellular growth and regeneration and like all this like good stuff coming into your body. It doesn't mean eat more, it means eat better, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, we put these like pregnant parking spots right next to the door at the grocery store, you know, and pregnant women should be like parking at the furthest corner of the lot and walking across.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're,
We have no disability.
yeah, we're endurance athletes.
I
We're not
know.
sick people. We're endurance athletes.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. And Rebecca, somebody asked me, Alexandra asked me
Yeah.
here, if it's possible to have a doula service virtually.
It is. And COVID has really sort of had everybody pivoting in interesting ways. And that is one of the ways is virtual doula services. So we do offer virtual doula services. I don't think it is possible. And we have done a couple of them, which has really been interesting. It's not the same. I don't think we can do fully what we can when we're present, obviously. But
I think that's in any situation. Like
absolutely,
human
yeah,
interaction will be never be um that word
yeah,
by virtual world
yeah.
interaction. Never. It will never be the
It
same.
will never be the same, but it
Mm.
does exist. And many doulas have pivoted to offering a virtual model, which looks like, you know, sort of play by play guidance throughout your labor. You know, speaking on the phone, FaceTiming, talking to clients. We have a model where we have an educational component. So for all of our clients, we have a 6 class series and we front load with education because the more you know, the better this goes, right? Like that's how we
Yeah.
fear. It's all like knowledge counters fear, right? Understanding counters fear. And when we don't know what's happening in our bodies because we're not given that information by our OBs, like nobody says to you, like, oh, well, here's what's happening in your body this week. And these are things that you can expect. And here are things you can do to support that, right? That these changes. Nobody says that. Everybody just like accepts that, like, oh, I have all these aches and pains and I feel terrible and I don't sleep well. And if you
Yeah.
again rewrite this narrative from negative to positive, right? Every discomfort in the human body is an invitation to act, whether you're pregnant or not,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like there's nothing wrong with you. Stretch it,
It's just the
move your
language of the
body.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Oh yeah. I truly believe in that.
Mhm.
100%. And so when you're talking about the classes, are these only for your clients or could other people, since they're virtual,
Yeah.
can other people join?
They can. And again, you know, that's one of the amazing things that's come out of this year. They used to be only for our clients. They used to be here in house around a
Mhm.
table. We were watching, like, cultivating community. You know, you make a friend,
Eating.
you talk about, yeah, which is a huge component around pregnancy. Like, we all like do this in sort of a silo, right? So, cultivating community and having these classes in person, which with COVID obviously became obsolete. So, we turned to Zoom like everyone else. And something really interesting has happened. We have classes that now anyone can jump in on from anywhere. And I mean, we have a couple in Cincinnati, we have a couple in Brooklyn, we have a couple in Lake Placid. So people are kind of jumping in from all over, which is really cool. It's something we would have never, I don't think, considered, you know? So they're available. You don't have to, you know, be our clients to take classes. There's an a la carte sort of offering system. So yeah, you can, it is amazing, Adriana. It's so cool. Like we have a product now, which is something we never would have come up with in a million years. Like, cause we were all about, in fact, when it started, we were like, we will not be on Zoom. Like we need to be, like we need to be with people. The whole point is that we're cultivating community and like, and of course we had to do something. And so via Zoom, it's really opened up this whole other level and layer to what we can do with education. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
And so how do people, I'm interested in that because as you said, information is power and it can change everything. I'm interested in letting people know how can they like sign up for these classes? Where do they find the information?
So our website is Carrie House Buffalo. I'll put it in the comments. It's
Okay.
carrieHousebuffalo.com. And you go to the website, you can sign up for classes, you can schedule a consult, you can kind of check into all of our offerings. I teach a prenatal yoga class on Saturdays, and that is hybrid. So we're back in studio with a limited number, but then we Zoom the rest. So people, again, I've got some, the same people from Cincinnati and Brooklyn are also like in yoga on Saturdays. So that's also really, it's really cool. It is really cool. Yeah.
And here with us, it's also Paula, the other Paula.
I know, I saw her pop on.
Beautiful lady, great information with little Malita. I know. I'm so happy for what she did, and her birth was
it was epic.
It's a story to tell.
It was epic. Yes.
Yeah, and she's just amazing. But I'm so happy that we have that in common.
Yeah.
We have
that connection.
You in common. It's amazing. It is amazing that you can, and I will just love that women would create this love community, because that's it becomes like we share a way, we share this love, we believe in each other.
Yeah.
And it's not only that I believe in what I can do and in my body, but I also trust in yours.
Yeah.
And I'm there to support you, and that changes also everything, because I feel that we women tend to be more competitive and to compare and do things that are not really our nature.
Yeah.
And as you said at the beginning, just connecting with nature, connecting with our bodies, with what we are meant to do, also connect us with each other, which is basically what we were meant to do.
Yeah.
Being communities together.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It's true. I mean, in that whole, comparison, the thing that we do where we compare and we're constantly like, belittling ourselves, and we do this in pregnancy, especially like, oh my God, she's 8 months pregnant and I'm 6 months and I'm bigger than her, or she's running 5 miles and I can't even make it up the stairs. We're constantly comparing. And again, that's a social construct, right? We are fed all of this, imagery and messaging as women that like our bodies are never good enough. Our bodies are shameful. We don't want women to know how powerful they are, to understand their bodies, because it would change the world, right? And as women, we are so connected on a cellular level, right? Like we are eggs in the womb of our mother when she is in the womb of our grandmother, right? So this line is never broken. This thread is never broken, woman to woman to woman to woman to woman, all the way through from the beginning, from the first mother. This is how profound this is, right? And we used to know this, right? We do know this in our bones and in our guts. We know this in our blood and we know it, but we don't live in a culture that supports it or offers any messaging around it. We have to kind of dig around for ourselves, and that's the thing about birth, is that you spend your whole life trying not to get pregnant, right? So you don't talk about it, and then you're pregnant and you're like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah, I don't know anything.
Yeah. And you have to dig really deeply and start off on this journey of educating yourself and gathering intel, and then finding the thing that aligns with your values, right? That's what this is about. It's not about oh, I had a home birth, in the water, or I had all the bells and whistles at the hospital. It's about, what are your values? Where do you feel safest? Because I'll tell you something, and Instagram is a big proponent of this. We have people like, oh, I want that beautiful home birth with the candles and we're like, listen, if you don't feel safe at home, it's not going to work, right? Because we're animals, and it's very primal. It's the most primal thing we do. And what happens in animals, like a deer out birthing in a field, if there's a predator or a storm rolling in, that labor is going to stop in its tracks until she can get somewhere where she feels safe, and then she'll have her baby, right? It does one of two things. It's either really precipitous and bam, the baby comes, she grabs the baby and runs, or it stops and then she gets to the place where she feels safe and she has the baby. You know, we've definitely had planned home births where partway into the labor, women are like, I don't want to be here. I want to be in a hospital. And okay, then we have to go there because that's where you feel safe and that's where this will work. Because again, it's the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, right? That fight or flight versus that rest and digest. When we feel safe, everything opens, everything softens. And guess what? To let a baby out, we have to be soft and open. If we're doing this, like out of fear or tension or pain, it doesn't work, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
I know. There's another question. Can you speak a little about how subsequent pregnancies and births can be difficult?
About
Different? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe if you read the question, you will understand better.
see if I can find it.
It's the last one.
I don't think it's come up yet. I'm just trying to, what was the, how, what can be different?
Oh, different. So can you speak a little about how subsequent pregnancies slash births can be
Subsequent.
different?
Yeah. How, yes, every pregnancy and birth is its own experience, right? It's its own experience. So what happens is we tend to attach to experiences and then we let that attachment inform our next experience, right? So I have a really great example of this. We just had someone who, her first baby was born at 38 weeks and she had a very fast labor. Her second, she was expecting because she went at 38 weeks the first time, even though we told her it's its own pregnancy, it's going to be its own labor, this is their own baby, right? So she went to 42 weeks this time. So for an entire month, she was like very confused. She felt like, I'm late. And we realized you're just at your due date now, right? So every subsequent pregnancy and labor is different. What tends to happen is that the work of the first one, you never have to do again, right? So first labors are longer because it's a physiologic process unfolding in your body, right? So 18 to 24 hours is a typical first labor. It's not long. If you had a 30-hour labor, you're right on par. You know, even if you had a 12-hour labor, that's really fast, you know? So 18 to 24 is like typical first babies. But each labor after that and pregnancy, because we have muscle memory, right? Our bodies are so amazing. They remember this, right? So what happens with the pregnancy is everything comes earlier, right? So you know how the first time you're pregnant, you're just kind of, I can't really buckle my jeans, but you don't have a bump yet. You know, it takes a while. The second one, it sort of just pops right away. Your joints start to get really loosey-goosey because a lot of times your body still has that relaxin, those hormones they release earlier. Everything happens more efficiently because our bodies remember, right? And that goes for the labor. So it's really good news during subsequent pregnancies if you're feeling things more, if you see this pop of a baby faster, because your labor will be faster. You know, we have a joke, we say that second babies are the car babies, right? Because you have your first baby, like, my first labor was like 30 hours and I stayed home and I didn't even leave until 24 hours later. And then the second baby, they're like, it's too early. So by the time people get in their car to go, they're like pushing, you know, because your body remembers. So the first 5 centimeters of labor, right? This is early labor. It's the latent phase. They take the longest, right? The cervix has to get really soft and then it has to slowly open. And just for some reference, 1 centimeter is about a blueberry. It's about a blueberry. 10 centimeters is a cantaloupe, a small cantaloupe. There's a lot of work happening in your body, right? It's all happening inside of your body. So from a blueberry to a cantaloupe has to happen. It's like right there, it's mind blowing. Right?
It's mind blowing.
Not to mention a whole human comes out of that, you know, a whole developed person with their own mind, their own consciousness, their own ways, you know, comes through that. But the first 5 centimeters take the longest. It's early labor. It's also the most manageable. That's the part you do at home, right? The next, so from 6 cms onward, that's considered active labor. And the American ACOG, right? So the American Gynecologist and Obstetrics College, says nobody should be in a hospital or anywhere until they're 6 centimeters, right? So active labor. And many, many people go way too early. With this, the interventions start earlier, and then, the body doesn't have the chance to let the physiologic process unload. So that benchmark from the early labor to active labor, the second, third, fourth pregnancy can still be that long sort of drawn out. But when you turn the corner to active, it's very fast. That muscle memory is like, it opens right up, and a baby, like, if you pushed for 4 hours with your first baby, you'll probably, it's like night and day the second. We had one who she labored, she had a 4-day labor. And with her second, she was eating a slice of pizza, and when I talked to her, she's like, hey, I'm a little crampy, I'm gonna have some pizza. And I was like, great, this is gonna like turn quick, so it's gonna go from cramps to contractions quickly because your body remembers it. She's like, okay, no problem. 2 hours later, her husband texts me and he's like, she's throwing up, and it's like, it's on. And I was like, let's go. We get to the place she's having her baby. She steps out of the car, her water breaks, we barely got her inside, and a 10-pound direct OP baby comes. She pushed twice. With her first, she had a 4-day labor. She pushed for 6 hours. Like, you have to work so hard for the first one, but then you get all this amazing muscle memory, and each subsequent pregnancy and labor should be, and we can't promise it because there are, instances where if it's positional, there's maybe some sort of like, anomaly with the pelvis. Sometimes you don't get the fast second labor, but most people, it's so fast the second time. It's so much more efficient. Because
and Adriana Lucia is having her second one. And she said that her first one was so fast.
Yeah.
So this one is going to be probably faster. Even faster.
Yeah, half the time generally is what we see, half the time. Adriana also had preterm labor though. Adriana also went early, and when they're early, they're precipitous. So also that's something to take into account. Early babies are generally precipitous. It generally moves pretty quickly. Multiples, like twins, they're generally precipitous, which means it's a quick labor because the body recognizes the need to, move it more efficiently. Breech babies are precipitous. It's really cool. Nature knows. The body knows.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Babies orchestrate all of it too. Like it's no coincidence that like during pregnancy, all these things happen. Like Adriana's husband got a job cross country. Not a coincidence. That baby needed them to be there. Like roofs cave in, people like my husband lost his job. We're moving. I lost my job. I got a new job in a different country. Those are all because the energy of babies, new souls coming in, brings the energy of so much newness, like so much change. It's just this big wave of energy. And so it's very common for huge life changes to also be happening as your baby is developing, during pregnancy. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember we moved during pregnancy.
Yeah.
At this time, it has been an hour already, and I want to thank you for, again, saying yes to my invitation. I love talking to you, seeing you again. It's always empowering and uplifting to hear you, to see you. Your energy just crosses. It doesn't have any borders.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so special and amazing to see you, and to see so many amazing, moms on here who are already on baby number 2, who all this like amazing connection of everyone. It's beautiful. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, and hope you have a great rest of the day and an amazing weekend. Yeah. Not only you, but all of you who are also seeing us. Yes. And I hope if I don't get to talk to you, all the other women, just have wonderful births, babies, and enjoy the whole process.